Anthony's father struggled through to see the man keep, actually to keep the son into the go-karting school. You've been off the scene. If it's not my second time seeing you or getting a close on with you, then it has been a long time of a decade since I last saw you into the cockpit. What have you done as you, a person who is an intellectual, a person who has had a feel of a competition in a cockpit? Have you put up a son or a daughter into this, what you used to do, or you're letting your legends burn away? Because I'm told you have a very good, versatile experience via rallying.
You know, rallying is, first of all, you've got to have an interest in the sport. And that's on the navigation side. Yeah. On the driving side, you must have the money first.
Oh, money first.
Yeah, to buy a rally car.
Oh, sure.
And because it's a very expensive sport. It's not like kicking football and boxing.
Let's go straight to the point, Frank. No.
You have got to
had
have
a kid?
the money. I've got the kids,
yeah,
but they've just come out of school. And what I really hate is going half-half.
Half-half, not finishing it.
Yeah. Motorsport, you have got to be determined. You must have the resources and do it professionally. I am lucky that I was able to test what professionalism, or almost the peak, by navigating Karimu Hiriji.
Sure.
But before navigating Karimu Hiriji, I started my navigation in 1977 when I was in my second year at Makerere University. And it was by chance.
Really?
Yeah.
Had you started a rally car before?
I had not started in a rally car before.
Oh, sure.
And here was a gentleman called Amos Mugisha. He's actually right now is, I hear and read about him. He's in someone big in the Toro Kingdom. He used to have a soap factory in Kawempe. So here he was. There was a rally in 1977.
Oh.
And I was on campus. It was a Sunday morning. And this gentleman, they had started with his navigator. So when they reached the starting point, that was City Square. They were in car number 26. So when the navigator was given
the book,
the book. Those days they never had route pace notes. Yeah, it was
you
about
could make them yourself.
No, it was just tell it and then directions where you go.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So when the guy looked at the book, he said, this, I can't do this.
Do it.
He just threw the books and ran out of the car on the dashboard. So this guy said, now what do I do? He drove the car, because it was starting car number 26, and the rally had not started. He comes to campus.
Was it just a lookout of somebody who can read
because
who had skills?
He knew I was on campus because he was my late cousin, the late Mugwanya, was working with him, John Mugwanya. John Zimula Mugwanya. Yeah, was working with him, and we used to move together. So he knew I was on campus. And he had dropped me. I was in Mitchell Hall. So this guy drove to Mitchell Hall.
In a rally car?
In a rally car. It was a Sunday around 10. We were just outside there. And then I said, which rally car is this? What is he doing here? Then when I was looking at it, he called me like this because he saw me. And I said, this is Amos Mugisha. When I ran to say, what's happening? He said, sit
in the car.
I sat in the car and drove to City Square from Makerere.
Oh, wow.
Fortunately, we found what I think the cars were about 10 or 12 which had already gone. And I said, what is this? He said, no, these are the route notes. Now you have got to find your way.
Yeah, find the way. Wow!
And I remember Sam Sally was the clerk of the course. So I got out of the car, went to Sam Sally and said, what am I supposed to do? And he gave me a brief, said, you know what you do, you follow, this is the route. Where you see the arrow is where you are supposed to go. And this is the interdistance. Between this arrow and this one, this is the distance you've got to cover to get to this arrow. But
between the interdistances, there are always either the fast rights,
those have just come.
Let me get my cameraman to get us close.
I'll get you to this, how it came here, because it's me and Jack Wavamuno who introduced the pace notes.
Yeah, really? That's way.
And that was 1985.
1985.
Yeah.
Wow.
1985.
Wow.
So just to go back to where I was. That's how sat in the car, and that was my first rally. And I remember we finished 12th.
Overall.
Yeah. That was during Amin's time. So and we're driving a Datsun 120Y. And then So coming to the pace notes.
The pace note now. Colin, the pace note. Actually, let's have the cameraman have us a close shot over the pace notes. Yeah. When this man talks about navigation, what does he kind of say? When like saying navigation is about the language. Actually, me, I call it the Olimi Wabakasiri, where you don't speak all the words, but you need to just use abbreviates of the words and then get into the work and get into the speeds. And I'm imagining, I'm actually into a question. How do you get yourself feel the car for the first time, and you're only given the interdistances of either say like now I'm seeing it's a ditch, actually a ditch here, it's a ditch into a ditch so center.
Ditch, ditch,
yeah,
slow ditch, keep center 50, drive on sight, long medium right, narrows is double caution, medium caution. Left into unguarded bridge, hump. Yeah, that's the language. And actually the pace notes are in two forms. Yeah, we have this form, and then there are others who have got the
gear, reading gears.
They just read the gears and say left 5, left 4.
That's right, a turn on left 5.
Yeah, something like that.
What of the two did you use? What was very comfortable?
This is what we introduced here, and that's what is commonly used in Kenya. But you find some countries like South Africa, they use the other type. The other type, the gear shifting or the gear take off the turns. Yeah. Oh, well, that's very impressive and very, very much impressive. I'm actually glad having it clearly close with this man. Frank, what is it you can say with your pairing with Karim? Was he the first driver you paired with in the first place to get into the cockpit, or there was another driver before you sat in the hot suit of Karim Hezi? I've been fortunate to have driven with almost all the drivers around. Yeah, I started with the Amos Mugisha, like I told you. Then briefly started driving myself.
Driving yourself? Yeah. You shifted from the co-driver seat to driving racing? To driving. And Jack Wavamuno was my navigator. Jack Wavamuno, the current the person who came in for the second position. Actually, he's the current president. Current president. He was my navigator. Wow. I did some rallying from 1983 to around 1987. I was rallying. Then, after rallying, I navigated Samsali. From Samsali, I started navigating Karim, whom I had a long stint, and I think we really had fun. Really? Yeah. Talking about the because we were actually doing it like I was telling you, the professional way. That's why I'm telling you now, I don't want to come in the sport half-hazard, because once you have tested the professional way, you don't want to do it half-half-way. Well, he said by the professional, that's actually the picture, that's Kaka, who was under the Dembe rallying team. The man he's talking about, that's Chip Adams, the hissing Supra. I also drove with Chip Adams. Chip Adams? Yeah. So you tested all the hard presses. I drove with Gerard Kidu. Oh. I drove with Samsali. I drove with Muhanji. Charles Muhanji. That's before, actually, that's which year? That was which year? Because actually, I last rallied with Muhanji. You last rallied with Muhanji? Yeah, that's way back when. I did it in, I did with him the Safari Rally for the last Safari Rally, which was 2000. And then I did with him, the recent one was, I think, 2010. When he brought in this B12. That was 2010. That was my last rally. After a spell of about 8 years. 8 years. Yeah. We last rallied the 2002 Safari Rally with him. Then I was off. And we did the 2010 Pearl of Africa. Pearl of Africa Rally. Well, I'm seeing Chipa is one of the guys this man has really actually rallied with him in that very car, the Supra. The Supra, yeah. It was a hissing Cobra. That time his navigator was out of the country, JB, and we were not rallying with Karim, so I took over with him. So that's when had your master Karim retired from the sport then, or he was? There was a reason. I think he was out on business. He was abroad on business, and Chipa also, his navigator was out also on business. So we said, Chipa said, why don't you join me and we do this race and that. Well, he's actually said it all, and we're having a little more about him because he's a man who has the history. I'm told, actually, he has just whispered to me that he has had enough of the time into the cockpit. Actually, he has participated been in active rallying for 27 years, fully 27 years, which to me, it's not a mean achievement, and actually has had a number of titles under his belt. And he's actually, for the guys, the young guys who are still into the walk of his life, that's navigation life, he has tested this, the wheel, driving our president. He has never mentioned about that. I don't know why he's very skeptical.
It's a long time ago. we last rallied, I think, we did together 85, 86, and 87 were rallying together. We did the Guru Nanak rally. Oh. That's why I was coming to the Pace Notes. The Pace Notes, yeah. We were in Nairobi, and there was a rally, and we went to watch that rally. The rally. And for some reason, there was a car. Yeah. We were actually at the scrutineering. And this guy said, I asked him, are you selling this car? He said, yes, I am. We paid him. That's what at what age was Frank then? Who was walking in the backyard? I must have been about 30. Oh. Yeah, at 30 you had not even made your money to buy yourself a well-prepared car. 28, 20 years, 30. Wow. So we bought that car, and I remember Jack writing the names on the side, and then when he was given the Pace Notes, again, it was like I had just seen the road book. Road book, yeah. So Jack said, what is happening here? The man told him, just go look at the legend. The legend. And he did very well. Wow. So from then, we were actually 10th in that Guru Nanak rally. Yeah, 85, we were 10th. Driving a 710. And that's how we came to introduce the Pace Notes. Well, that said, Frank, I'm seeing actually a roll of those pictures. That's Swat Singh getting ahead of you guys. That's in the 1998 Power of Africa rally. That the course in the plantations in sugar plantation. Why I'm laughing at that, I believe that's when your master, Karim, when you guys went furious onto racing a hard competition, you ended up running into a truck in the plantation. Was it the same year, 98, when 90, you guys... That's the last, actually, that was not the last rally we did, though. We did another one when Karim bought the WRC Subaru. The Subaru, which ended in the hands of Mohanji. Mohanji, Manuel Kato bought one. And then eventually Mohanji bought it. Okay. That rally, I think that's the car. That's the car. Yeah, that's the car. That's where we were. That's the car. You're back behind Swat Singh, just at the control. We were behind Chip Adams. Chip Adams, I saw him coming in back. The other Celica, that was a Celica. Chipper was in a Supra. He was in a Supra because by the time, that was someone on Kamoli Road. We were just behind Chip Adams. Mohanji was ahead. We were third on the road, Chipper was behind Mohanji. So after Chipper went, we came into the section. And there was this long, we just came into actually T right. A T right, that's okay. And there was about 1.5 kilometers maximum. Wow. Yeah, so I just told Karim 1.5 maximum. Yeah, wow. And they all used to read that. I would not tell him, like we were saying, 150 max right. What I would do, I would tell him 150, but when you're about to get the point, you tell max right. Max right. Yeah. So normally you can tell someone that 150 max right, but he forgets whether it's the right or right. On the right. So that's how we used to do it. I would say 150, that's just like 50 meters there. When you see the hazard, you tell him max right. Max right. Yeah, that's when you emphasize. How very fast could he shift his gears to the to the command of the car? Because if it's max right, you don't need to shift any gear. It's just like simple, swing your car. Yeah, but if it is a double, then you have got to be cautious. Cautious, a little just bit before you get to the double caution, and you must emphasize. I'm seeing the person who was ahead of you was Cherry Rubega in the Serika 185. Yeah, but that was before. That was much before. I think we did. We had the accident on day 2. Yeah, that was much. That was day 1. Yeah, that must have been day 1 because by then Chip Adams was chasing you back and was chasing you from back. Yeah, he was ahead of us. Talking about that accident, actually, when we get to sum up, actually, let's before we get into talking about much about that, and how does the man come into retirement, and how does Frank Nekusa get into hibernation? I call it hibernation. I only see him into rally at times when he's not an official. He's always somewhere at the high altitude watching other guys play.